when you're getting into the things that are days on end, your mental preparation isn't just for the bad parts of the race, but the bad parts in other people's lives and how you're affecting them.
Hey, Lot Fodders, I wanted to hop in real quick. Thank you for listening, and a quick little apology for the audio in this. The internet on my side was kind of dropping in and out, given technical problems, as the internet does, but for the most part, it's just my voice. So when you hear it kind of cut out in little gaps, that's what's going on. Thankfully, all of what Josh says, for the most part, is all caught and is good, and that's the important part, right? We want to hear his story. And in true Josh, like whole heart, awesome fashion, he just rolls with it and helps me complete this episode. So anyway, guys, thank you for your patience in listening to this, and thank you for being listeners. Here we go. Okay, well, hey, howdy, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 51, and I'm joined with a guest, Mr. Josh Drube, kind of a local in the DFW area, but you may have known him if you follow or not. He's done a lot of really neat kind of hands-on things, or for, I don't want to use the word, it might be like charities, but we'll kind of get into that, and maybe his own kind of challenges that you've kind of put on. And that's what drew me to be interested in what you were doing or question about it, because this whole 1% further every day, and wondering where you got that idea and where it came from and everything. And we'll get into that in a second. But yes, Josh, thank you so much for making time to come on the podcast here. Happy New Year to you and yours, man. I know, fitness and family balance, so we'll talk about and get into that a little bit. It can be hard, but worth it all around. So, first, it's kind of fun. I have to do like almost stalker-esque stuff when I'm trying to research somebody to ask him questions and things. But I met you briefly the first time it was almost 2 years ago. It wasn't the last Sufferfest, but it was the one before that. And that was my first 50 or something. We talked for a second, but anyway, that's my first. I remember you there, and we're recording, and a buddy of mine that I kind of remember was still off and on was like, "Oh yeah, it's Josh. He does all kind of stuff," and like, yeah, you've got lots of miles. What streak what day are you on right now? You're still in your streak, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in the 370s, so just hit the year mark on the first.
Yeah, dang, it's 370 something. That's all. Whether it's, do you have a?
So that one was.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the streak is kind of out of creating some more consistency for myself. When I started, I did like a 10K streak for a while, but then I hit a really big burnout session in 2023 where I ran like once a week for a few weeks, and I'm building towards some bigger things. And so the streak was like, all right, I can dedicate a half hour every single day if I just set my mind to it. And then when you hit a year, I mean, giving that up is almost like, like let's just keep going.
You're in it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 3 mile minimum a day going on just over a year.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask, if you had a minimum or amount, or like, what do you count? Because I've heard other people talk about their streaks, and I can't remember the gentleman I was watching, whatever, insert YouTube video, but he was on the plane when the day was about to break over into the next 24 hours. So he like jogged in place for 20 minutes or something. And I was like, kind of, yeah. Does that count? Yes, no. He tried anyway, but, and some people are like, just a mile, or like, so around a 5K is what you're saying. That makes sense. That sounds good. So do you know, I think
that's a good,
go ahead.
I think it's a good point on it. Is one, it's what counts for you is probably the most important on any of these things. But then two, for me, it's the time management is honestly that hardest piece. How do I make sure that I'm not on a plane when I got to get this done? Right. And there have been days where that's where you talked about balance. And a lot of times that balance is just about proper planning and making sure your priorities are to your life outside of running, and being able to complement that with running.
Yeah, 100%. It's good to challenge ourselves, definitely. And I think a lot of runners or trail runners kind of hold that. It's partially probably why we do it. We're okay with getting uncomfortable. We want to push ourselves, and then in other aspects. So then it's something consistent, or when you make the acknowledgement, like you said, and a lot of people, I think, bring this up when they're trying to complete a book or whatever hobby. It's like, yeah, 15 minutes or 30 minutes a day, you do it. Like with my morning routine, that's what I typically do. I'm usually one of the first ones up, wake up, coffee, I like stretch, read the Bible, maybe watch some news. But like that's kind of my start. Or a lot of people do that in running. It is really nice to get the run done early so you can check that box and have it done. But that consistency is key until it becomes such commonplace. Again, like my routine now, or like now you're over a year of, like you said, you're in the 370s. You got to like, I can't stop now. You got to see how far this thing will go. Right. That's awesome. Which I think I know the answer, but the 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 daily running or the streak started before the 1%. Is that right? Or together?
Uh, yeah, so the streak started January of last year, so a year ago. The 1%. So last year I did Calendar Club 26 for 26, and then the 1% started in late September after Selfish September. So
Oh, neat. Okay. What is Al? Well, we touched on both things. Now I have that on my list here to talk about the 26 for 26, and I know you have like a link to donate blood on your Instagram, and you're very kind of a human for the people. Spread the good word about certain things and help people out, right? And you've got a great energy about you. So let's go ahead and touch on that. What was the 26 for 26 thing? Whatever you just said for September, counter September or something. I did, that's new to me. What's some of these
yeah.
things that you like to bring some light to, and what you run for, and like what kind of motivate you for that?
Yeah, so a lot of these doing the running is pretty selfish in and of itself. And if I'm taking that time from my family, from my relationships, from work, I want to make sure that it's able to do something greater as well. So I was dipping my toe in the water last April. I did 26 for 26, where I ran 26 miles a day for 26 days straight. And we were able to raise just shy of $4,000 for an organization that provides food education for refugees and people that are disadvantaged in the Middle East. And great connections and relationships came from that opportunity, which again still sounds selfish that I was able to like make friends from that, but I was just trying to do something with the running. Then when I got to Selfish September, so that one was I was really my PRs were not as good as I was athletically. Like all the PRs that I'd set were from over, from 2023. And I was like, all right, I want to do some selfish runs because most of my races, when I run a race, I'm helping someone do their first 50K or their first marathon. And I pack Sherpa it and I run it with them. And this was like, I'm not going to Sherpa anyone. I'm going out as hard as I can. And so I did 5 races in 5 weekends of all the distances. So 5K, 10K, half, full, and 50K to try to do PRs each weekend. So I called it Selfish September because I just wanted to get it out of the way so that could get back to like just helping people pace.
That's nice. It's good to. Sorry, I know I've got like a little bit of a delay, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's nice to me. My wife do chores or get work done, then we feel okay to sit down and be, a little lazy or selfish, right? So if you dedicated a month or put aside that time to, this is the plan, I'm going to set some PRs, I'm really going to try hard and run for these things, then it maybe re-energized you to, or could re-energize somebody to give a little more selflessly back to somebody else. You're like, that was for me, I got this done, and now back to the, you're a quick dude.
That one was a good one too, because what was able to do, it cut out. I thought there was a break. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Got
Yeah.
it. I got to partner with Dallas Muslim Running Club, and they were sponsoring Run for Refugees. So even though it was selfish within the race, we were still able to raise $500, and I think we got like 15 people to sign up for that charity race. So that was a good 5K.
Yeah, yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, with your PRs, I think I saw you have like a sub 25K. I think you're around like 18 minutes, which is a big goal of mine for this year to get under 20 minutes. So awesome in that. So let's get into then the 1%. Well, why start the 1% further? That number 1%, all that, where did it come from and everything? Yeah.
Yeah. So all these different challenges are, for me, building blocks towards my ultimate goals, my version of my Everest that I'm working towards. And so finding opportunities to then kind of package them in training blocks is what I've been trying to do, because when you're trying to do something similar to a transcontinental, going from LA to New York, there's not a lot of coaches out there for that. And the couple that they are charge an exorbitant amount. So you kind of have to come up with your own plan. So the 1% plan was like the idea that I was trying to present was you hear all the time, just do 1% better every single day. Like, just try to grow 1%. So I was like, can you actually, like, what does that look like in the form of running 1% further? And it really showed. Like, I started at a 10K, so 6.2 miles, and it took 3 weeks to get to 7 miles, even running every day. But by the end, when I'm up at towards day 100, I was going up an entire mile every 5 days. So it just gets faster and faster. It compounds. And it was kind of trying to bring light into that for myself, and just to show that that little bit more over time, that just trying to get a little bit better does really compound. And it gets pretty incredible. Going from, an hour a day all the way up to 3 hours a day is how that kind of worked out.
Yeah. That was my thought too when you started. Was I wanted to know what distance you chose to start at, and starting at 1% is going to be such a almost unnoticeable increase until, like you said, it snowballs and it really gains. Do you think, or would you recommend this to somebody who is trying to increase distance or like consistency or something, for somebody who's maybe, let's say, hasn't ran like a marathon or something around that? Did you find it?
So far in what I'm doing, I've been pretty lucky on. It's partly that I don't, I think it's Chicago. A lot of famous runners have done 80-20, where they do the 80%. And like for me, it's like 90-95 to 5-10. Like all my stuff is so simple so that I can maintain my health and not get injured. And anytime that something is feeling like iffy, like I really dial it back, I no ego to run 13-minute miles. I got places to be in 2026 that I need to stay healthy now. So I don't know if I necessarily recommend any of these challenges to anyone that isn't a consistent runner, but I absolutely, when anyone asks me for advice, I am not a trainer by any means, but I definitely do preach consistency, starting small. You don't have to boil the ocean, and maybe 1% kind of feeds into that, right? That just over time, maybe not every single day, but walk 10 minutes a day. I've had people that go from the couch trying to say, I want to run a marathon. And I do believe everyone can do it in, 90 days, but I don't think everyone has to do it in 90 days either, And so I think it's just great to just do something a little bit more than you currently are and seeing how it feels.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's very, putting it in mile form, if I can say it that way, makes it a little more tangible. Right, you're physically covering that distance, and then you can see the miles gained over time. If you're tracking it, however you're doing that, somebody trying to push themselves or get consistent and get out there and do things. So it was really unique, and you're really good about um, not necessarily tracking everything, but it's like recording it and showing it. You've got, like I said, your personality, your energy is real fun. All the watermelon clothes and things you wear, right? So a great energy about all that. And people, I think you help feed that. If you're not a coach, I definitely see that you could be a coach, because the last is they all have that drive to just be fun and caring, but help people grow and themselves grow and stuff, kind of that teacher aspect. With that, right, in your personality, something I had on here. I was saying about your, like you quote at the end of a lot of your clips, the "thank you for being you."
Yes.
Yeah. So what made you want to say that, and why do you feel like runners and people need to hear that? Because I love it.
Yeah, I want to be careful not to be getting on any sort of soapbox by any means, but I mean, I think unity across everyone is very important. And whether it's someone's down on themselves, if they're all about themselves, wherever anyone is at, I'm just grateful that they are here and they are joining in on the journey along with me, or they're doing their own journey, and I'm getting to see that. I don't know if I actually have any around, but I carry cards, and how it started was these cards that say "Thank you for being you. You are awesome." And I gave them out at races when I met a personality that left an impact on me. And so that I can, because sometimes you meet people and you don't and they impact you, and you can say like, "You were really cool," but they could hear that 50 different times. And so it's creating that tangibility that we were kind of talking about in a card form that says "Thank you for being you." And I'll send you a picture of one for sure. And through that was kind of how community started to grow. And then it was, well, I don't get to see everyone in person, but I can do that through my videos and things like that, and just really showcase that everyone is special in their own way. Everyone is conquering their own journey. And I'm very grateful to be a part of that journey. I mean, I get more inspired from posts about someone's first 5K than I do about, some of the more famous ultra runners, 100 miler. Like, it's a big deal to take those first steps in any sort of athleticism, any sort of mental capacity, career wise, family wise, whatever it is, everything should be celebrated. And I'm just grateful to everyone.
Dude, that's fantastic, Josh. Yeah, I love that. And I was kind of, you said it very well. That's where I was kind of thinking, it came from, because I feel the same. I really try to tell people, come out to a race, or again, it goes back to the pushing yourself or being uncomfortable. When I like surprised my wife and signed her up for a race, she immediately thinks, "I'm not going to do good," or "That's hard," and this and that. Like, yeah, it is, but just come out there. You'll see other people pushing themselves and getting it done, and either struggle that either it is they were busy for that day, or they got moving, or they got out there. And then if someone like you says, "Hey man, I see you, keep it up, good job, love it." Like, and the trail running community has a lot of that love going around, I think, where we just want to see everyone do as best as they can, is really infectious and really great and motivating. So I absolutely love it that you carry that, and you represents, what we all try to do, or most of us try to hold up in the in stand. So it's great.
Can I ask you a question actually on that?
Yes.
When you are in the pain cave, or whatever you want to call it, in those low moments in a race, and someone comes by you, I think I ask everyone, because I think everyone has a different take on it, but I love to say, "You're doing great," even if you know that they're not in a great place right now, but you know that they're fighting, right? But some people, I don't know, it's so funny to try to, like, some people when they're going by, they're like, "Are you okay?" And I don't feel like I want to ask that, because I could see that they're not doing okay. I don't know. What do you say when you're passing someone in a low place? I don't know. Where do you come down on that?
I like that aspect in certain races, especially when they're like a down and back, and you have more time to pass people or run with somebody, or you see them coming back towards you. If it's a longer distance, you can tell this guy in the blue shirt, and next time you pass him, maybe he's a little further back or he's closer when you see him. And you're like, so I do try not to say the exact same thing when I pass people, so it's a little more meaningful and it keeps my mind somewhat fresh. And just either, keep it. I like. It should be, okay, but but pushing it. Yeah, I used to go. I would say, keep it up, or good work, or working good, or I like to say rock and roll a lot. Yeah, I mix it up, but I appreciate the words when I get them, and I love to like feed them back to people too. It Yeah, it's part of that. Carry it through, and I like to. I don't know. Yeah, I try not to say the exact same thing. They were like, good job, good job, good job. I mix it up, and it helps me stay, I guess, a little mentally there. But yeah, good question. I think a lot of people should do that. And if you're nervous if you're listening to this, and it's one thing if you're really focused and you're like to the grindstone, whatever, somebody's passing you, because it's nice, right? So we touched on it before, and I've kind of talked about it in other episodes, and it's such a serious and important part and a big deal. And I'm trying to have a separate episode kind of about this topic. Another buddy of mine who's been on before, but the topic of, with runners or athletes in general, of the balancing fitness and family and getting it done, and not having that guilt that we can sometimes put on ourselves, or feeling selfish, as you kind of put it, which is but anyway, so how do you go about dealing with that, or working through that, or how do you balance that fitness and family stuff, early workouts, or whatever you do?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned it, hinted on it earlier, but for me, time management is the hardest piece of this. And part of that large piece of that is that finding that balance. And to be quite honest, it borderlines on obsession sometimes, and it's not necessarily, I need those people in my life to help me tell me when that balance is not there. Right. And then it's about weighing how long you can go on any particular challenge or anything like that you're going to be able to do that while maintaining those relationships. It's so difficult, but at the same time, it is so introspective of it. I would say most of the time, the physicality is almost doing the stepping stones that I'm doing. The physicality becomes more routine, and it becomes about that mental game and that ability to maintain relationships in the rest of your life. And being able to maybe compartmentalize or maybe talk through it. And those interactions are such a complex mixture of emotions that I feel like I'm saying so much nothing, but that's the hardest part, and that's what I'm exploring. I'm exploring finding balance while doing things no one's ever done, trying to get to a place of doing something no one's ever done, and that's it, more exciting than just the act of running 100 miles or running 300 miles or running 1,000 miles. So
yeah, that's I understand. Yeah, it's hard you can't just make it black or white. It takes time, and if someone is getting in, we're talking about running, but we train and build up for these things that pay off, or that we try to do down the road. So have, whatever this race may be, your first 100-mile, your first 100K, you start training for it, months before that, typically. So you're trying to put in this time to get to this other end, while you at the same time build a relationship with people that grows as you go to it as well. So it's right, a constantly growing and change, prioritize or balance things out. And some people, depending on where they are in their life or what their goals are, if you are traveling and the relationships that you have, or that you have, lets you have more of this time with someone who, it's a crazy schedule, right? And they have, you know, a couple kids, and it's unique for everyone. And that's why I think it can be such a hard thing to talk about, but such a relatable thing, because you just say, yeah, it's hard. Like, yeah, I get it. It is. And it's important. And if you are surrounded by loved ones or friends and family that help you with that, they want you to do what you would like to do, or that makes you happy. And it's good that you're being healthy. And then, you know, like you said, it's very important if you have someone that can tell you, like, you feel like you've been gone a lot, or can you help me with this or that? Or, you know, can you do this exercise or work? Maybe you do that early or at night, and you have the part of the day, just kind of working your kind of time blocks around and everything to get the, I don't even want to say get the most out of what you can, not taking advantage of people or time, right? That's impossible. But it's a very delicate puzzle that that we kind of work with, and it's life in general, I guess, right?
So one story that comes to mind is that I was doing Habanero 100. I was doing the 50K, and I was running in or something. I was running out, and someone asked me, like, how do you maintain running, relationship, and a work life? And instinctually, in that kind of pain cave of myself, 20 plus miles in, what I said was poorly. And that has stuck with me so much. And honestly, the last 4 months have been me exploring that. Like, okay, I knew instantly that I am not doing a good balance. So what can I do to balance it better? And I tried a lot through 1% to figure that out. That was actually a really big piece of 1% going into, you know, what I'm going to be doing in October this year, where it's going to be 26 days of straight. Again, just only running, is how am I going to maintain relationships through that? That mental preparation that you're talking about, it's when you're getting into the things that are days on end, your mental preparation isn't just for the bad parts of the race, but the bad parts in other people's lives and how you're affecting them.
There's a lot to it. Like I said, it gets serious, and it's an important part, and we try to grow from it, right, as best as we can. I think, you know, life's full of mountains and valleys, and a lot of the growing is when you're at the bottom looking up, or depending on where you're coming from, I guess. Each person, it's again hard to talk about. Like, I feel the same. I'm saying a lot of word salad as well, but it's such a fascinating, you know, you get into mental toughness and physical toughness, and then really, yeah, all that. But yes, if anyone's there, listening, struggling with this, guys, it is a part of it. And, you know, you can get through it. Take a time, exhale, and think about what you're doing. But we can, you know, talk about gear. So is there any recommendations you would give, or about a particular product or piece that came in clutch, or maybe like totally failed you, that you would tell people, like, be cautious of this thing in, maybe I would say ever, or, you know, last year in 24, but what is something that you kind of lean on, headlamp, shoe, compression, whatever, something like that. And we can kind of get into, it's fun sometimes to talk about gear, and some people are like, I don't know, I run barefoot. And you're like, all right. But, yeah, anything you want to touch on that?
Yeah, when it comes to products, I'm pretty probably closer to the barefoot camp on that. Of, you know, I think running is such an individualized experience that the products are also so individualized. I have an iron gut, and a lot of 26 for 26 was learning how to eat full meals in the middle of a marathon. Because when you're doing 100 miles, you have to actually eat full meals, right? So when I buy gels, having that iron gut that I've kind of trained up, I buy the cheapest I can find, and usually in bulk. And by the time I get around to buying more, they're now the expensive one, and I'm finding something else, you know, like, so I don't have any brand loyalty or anything like that. I have, you know, I wear the same pair of shoes. I have 8 different of the exact same shoe, just at different half size, bigger, smaller, things like that. But I stick with what works for me. And when people ask, like, what shoe should I get? I'm in the camp, what's comfortable, you know? For me, one taboo thing is that I don't wear trail shoes. I think, and unpopular opinion, but trail shoes are uncomfortable. I've not found a pair that are comfortable. They're really stiff. And so if I'm going to do 100,000 steps on something that's really stiff, that's going to cause more damage to my body during the race than stubbing my toe 10 times in a pair of road shoes. The benefit versus cost isn't there for me, but other people slip, slide, fall because they're not wearing trail shoes. And so I absolutely advocate then wear your trail shoes. So that's kind of that. I headlamp, I mean, whatever makes you not fall. I mean, much more about results driven products than it is anything else for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. And that's something, as someone that's running a year or 10 years, right? You will see things that work for you, right? And we typically are natures of habit. If that works, then okay, fine. Right. But it comes to gel. And thankfully I'm kind of in that same camp too, where I haven't had to dance around certain foods I eat or whatnot. I can just kind of take down whatever I want and be okay thanks to my gut. But yeah, what works for you works, but how do I know it works for me? You got to try other things. So I got to buy other things to try them out. Well, kind of. But if something does work already, I wouldn't stress about changing it. They get some people or things, and I like to listen to it. I'm a consumer of it when they talk about, like, we're going to break down every step of these shoes. This one has this many millimeters. This one has this millimeters. I understand drop and like toe box and all that. Some of that stuff makes sense. Like, yes, if a shoe is too tight and it's squishing my toes and it's uncomfortable, yes, I will get a shoe that's wider, kind of thing. But as far as like, this is going to make you set a PR, I think that's more physical, mental miles under feet that you've done versus, yes, spending a lot of money on a shoe or this or that. But it is fun. I had to talk about it. I think a lot of it, or half of it, I would say, is placebo. Like we're saying, either if you think it's cool and think it makes you faster, right on. Like, okay, then that works for you. I have a more of aggressive shoe for mud or something, and I have more of like a lower profile shoe that I like for if it's hard or packed stuff. And depending on the cushion of them, it depends. There's a little play in that, but I'm okay if I accidentally grab the other, like you said. To me, it's a little fun. I like to learn about it. There's space for it, but it's nothing that I think is totally gonna. And I'm not a sponsored runner, so I'm not tweaking things down to ounces and like I said, millimeters and stuff. So I think for the average person.
I loved what you said in the middle there. The nugget that I can pull from that is, like, you find fun from knowing some of that. And if it's lighting your fire for running, I'm never going to, as long as it's not hurting others, right? Like,
right.
Shoving some kid down on a course, that of course is not what we're talking about here. But if it's lighting your fire to have that best shoe, to be tweaking your diet, your fueling and things like that, and that's fueling your fire, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen and I'm going to learn myself and I'm going to feed off of that energy and hopefully be able to reciprocate it to you. So if product is important to you, I love to hear and learn. It's just not necessarily the same for me.
Right. And yeah, but of course, everyone's different, but a lot of it's, try to have fun, right? Yeah. If it makes it fun and you like the color or whatever, go for it. Keep it that way. It's fun.
That's the most important piece, definitely. It's the color and the shape.
Fun. Put you in a good mood. You'll be more fun for everyone around you. Maybe that'll help their race or their day, right? Awesome. With, you kind of talked about with goals you have coming up or further down or in 2026 and stuff, but so, or a 2% challenge or something, or what are you kind of building to? And this may go in like your race goals or things coming up for this year in the future.
Yeah. So I have 3 goals this year, 3 missions that I call them. So I take bottles. I still need to post about it, but I have bottles that I write on. And when I accomplish those goals, I pop them and celebrate. I don't drink, but it's sparkling tea. And it's just a way to create some tangibility towards that target, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of those is to break a course record. I ran Southern Discomfort last year. It was my first 100-miler. It's a 30-hour race. And I had to catch a flight out of Georgia, like literally finished my 100 miles and drove to the airport and then fell apart on the plane. And I swear the person next to me thought I was not okay and needed to be detained in some way because all the cramping happened, full body cramps. It was terrible. So I want to go back to that race and I want to try to break the 30-hour record, which is 116 miles. So that's in June. That's definitely a very selfish personal one for me. In April, I have an entire canvas up here about it. There's the Arizona Monster 300 that's being put on by Trail Destinations. I do want to try to do that in about 5 days. It's a 7-day race, but it'll be my first 200 plus race. So that's where 100% was really a good detour towards that. And then the last one this year is going to be, I want to break an FKT, which is a fastest known time for those that don't know. So fastest known times are kind of the running world's version of world records. That you go from point A to point B, not in a designated race, and you try to do it faster than anyone else, supported, self-supported, or solo. I'll be doing self-supported Texas 1000. I'll be trying to go from the northern tip of Texas to the southern tip of Texas. The record is currently 34 days, and I'm going to try to do it in 26. We will also be raising money for the Red Cross for that one, as well as trying to get blood donation appointments through that. So that one's going to be the one charity event of this year for me, at least as of now. I might do some pop-up charity events throughout the year, but that's the big one. And then again, those are just all building towards further things down the road that not necessarily ready to commit to verbally because it's crazy. So that was quite a lot. Yeah.
Wonderful. I love having it just out in the horizon and kind of lining yourself up to have goals. That's this time for of that big. I would assume you probably had it on your mind for a while, or you thought for go into details about FKT, everything like that, because I would like to complete the Lone Star Hiking Trail this year, but I feel if I'm going to go out there and do it, so here. So I'm saying that as I haven't like 100% committed, but it would be again very fun, a great adventure, a time to learn and grow, bring some friends along the way. I'll probably do it supported, and that's nothing. I think it's like 96 miles, nothing too crazy. Not across the state like you're talking about, sir. But that's very. A charity with it too, right? To raise money. I love the tool of, I feel like you like check yourself to like, is there a way I can be selfless about this? Right? Can I help other people as I'm doing this? Let me give back, love my neighbor, do this, brighten somebody else's day, being grateful is a big portion of all that. So when you're grateful, I love to see like real, like people having a good time, especially nowadays with all the AI everywhere and internet, this and that, and posts and whatnot. When you see one of my favorite memories, I was driving to work real early and it was at like a Lowe's or Home Depot parking lot or something. And I saw this car parked and one lady got out of one car and the other lady got out of the other car and they like ran to each other and like hugged. I was like, that it just, whatever story I wanted to make up in my head was just like beautiful. Like maybe they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Maybe it happened bad and now they're back together, whatever. I just like, it's so nice to see some genuine, love or selflessness and giving back. So something that big across Texas or a state can bring more eyes and ears to awareness of something, like, yeah, man, like blood's pretty useful. If you want to donate some blood, that'd be, save some lives. That's pretty cool. Yeah. To say it in a almost joking manner, but obviously, yes, it's very important. So I love that you're kind of bringing that into it, and hopefully we'll get into this in a second as we kind of wrap things up. But as people follow you, can raise money, like you said, you did the 26 for 26, which I really like the idea of that itself, to run a marathon for like a month straight every day. That any tips on that? What did you learn from that aspect? Is that the most you've done back to back?
Yeah, that was my biggest month. I was 17th in the world that month. It's the only month that I beat Andrew Glaze. So I got that feather in my cap on Strava. So technically there could be several individuals that ran more. It was over 700 miles, I think. So that one was, again, it was a build towards, that was actually because you had to apply to get into the Arizona Monster, and I didn't have any 200 pluses. And so I was like, if I do this, I can put that on the resi for that, because there weren't any 200 milers that I could do last year. So that's part of that. But also that was a redemption. So in October of 23, I told you earlier, I hinted at me having some burnout. I tried doing 13 miles a day for 31 days, and I made it like 16, 17 days. And it was the time management piece. I was not getting done till like 11 p.m. And so I just, I dropped out of that one. And then I only ran 6 more times the rest of the year of 23. And that's where all right, I'm going to do the consistency of the streak. So honestly, the biggest thing that can fuel me is failure, because I experienced a failure. Now a streak came out of that. 26 for 26 came out of that. I was like, well, I couldn't do that. So I was like, do that again. And I was like, no, let's double down here. Like, let's really take it up a notch. And so a lot came from that. And it was an interesting experience. 26 26 was really intense. The last 10 days I was on the road. I did it in like 3 different states, and I was at a work conference, and the building that we were holding the conference in had some sort of mold problem. And there were like 50 of us in the room, and like 10 of us were constantly getting sick being in the room. And so as like day 22, 23, you can see the videos. If anyone looks it up, you can just tell I am miserable. And it's not because I'm done physically, it's because I haven't eaten. And when you're running that many miles, you got to eat. And it was, so that was a very interesting experience on that. But 26 26 was so rewarding, getting to meet so many amazing people reaching out about the charity and work that we were doing. And it was an honor to be able to share that with everyone.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned like calorie intake because that's something that I try to be very aware of when I am trying to put in more miles. And that's something I'm trying to do this year is weekly add, more and more miles. Cause I don't think I've ever even done over like 40 miles a week. And but I know I could do more. Burn out or not hurt myself, and you need energy to burn energy, so you need calories. So if you're someone, right, again, I would recommend that if you're so a lot of miles, be conscious, right, of your intake. Fuel yourself to do distance, because it could cause burnout or cause injury or whatever else. And it's hard sometimes, time management and scheduling and everything, but try to. That's a unique piece of the puzzle that we've talked about is getting time to eat also, and spend with loved ones and friends and make time on miles and all that kind of stuff.
One thing I'd love to share is I just got done with the 1%. So I did it for 100 days and I ended on December 30th. And so we're just around a couple weeks since that ended, and I can stop running almost instantly. I can't stop that appetite. That is something that, like, I'm getting headaches because I'm trying to eat less, like trying to be smart about it. I'm eating very healthy, But during that time, you can eat whatever you want, really. You want to be smart about it, but you can get away with a lot. So I'm trying to eat healthier, manage my portions and things like that. And I'm getting like these migraines, and I've still gained like 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Like it's so funny how the challenge has its consequences as well.
Yeah, that's a kind of, that doesn't get talked about a lot, but right, your body, we want to get into these habits of being consistent, and then your body locks down and says, hey, it looks like I'm burning 3,000 calories a day or more. Guess we need to intake that. You're like, all right, we're done running. Nope. I would like to have 2 more meals today, please, Josh, if you could. You're like, oh, why am I starving? Yeah. It's a real thing that you want more. You're like, I don't know if I should be eating this, but your body's craving it. You know, you might get headaches and stuff. That's fun. And I think I did. I kind of lied. I guess I'd said I hadn't done 40 miles in a week. I've done like a 50-mile race before, but as far as training in a week, I haven't done over like that much. But again, working on that. Sorry. Anyway,
Yeah.
dude, great information.
Nothing to shake your head. That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying. Right. It's a goal. I know if I were to kind of lock it down and write me out a schedule, Tuesday is going to be this, like I would do it. So that's what I'm working, to do probably pretty soon to just kind of check that box off. Dude, it's been great talking with you, Josh. What a wealth of knowledge. Your personality is great. Where can people find you if they had a question? Is there any way, either on Instagram or whatever information you want to give? I'm not not picking, but I think people could kind of be inspired by seeing your clips that you usually do and your positive attitude.
Yeah, so I love to help runners achieve their goals and things, even though it's not through coaching. So last year I traveled to 11 different states to run with people to help them with their first marathon, 50K, things like that. So this year, if you want to reach out via Instagram and you're trying to do your first 50K or more, and it works out with my schedule, I'd love to try to come out and run with you if it works out, and we would like to do that. Additionally, this year, I'm going to start doing some Saturday marathons that I'm going to live stream off YouTube. It's going to be much more of like a slow TV vibe, not really trying to like wow pow kind of entertainment, but just kind of Saturday long run if you don't want to be alone, listen in or whatnot. And that's going to be me practicing the stroller miles because I'm hoping to live stream the whole Texas 1000. So those are the 2 main ways to reach out to me for sure.
What is I think it's, is it Drew Tube or what's your Josh Tube or something? What's the Instagram name?
Yeah, Drube Tube. Yeah.
Drew
is my Instagram
okay.
handle.
And I'll try to.
And same on YouTube.
And YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll try to make sure I remember to put the links down in the description. So if you're listening to this and I haven't put those down there, I am sorry. Someone tell me and I'll put them there. But I'm usually pretty good about that. Dude, Josh, thank you so much for this time. I'm glad we were able to put this aside and make some time in our schedule like we talked about and balance it so we can talk. I hope anyone that's listened to this has been a little inspired and has learned a lot on both sides. Like I said, just been a wealth of knowledge, such a great attitude, man. We need more Joshes out there running with us and encouraging other people. So man, thank you so much for your time. Bless you and your family. And I hope in all your endeavors, and my goodness, I'm excited about your Trans Texas 1000 thing. That's exciting for sure. And best of luck on that. I will be following and watching closely.
Thanks, Frank. And I better get an invite to the 96 miler.
Yes, sir. You'll know.